Ah, yes, it appears that the Patriots have named a GM without naming it a GM. We'll explain it all as Eliot Wolf, it appears, is going to be the man in charge when it comes to player personnel decisions. That news coming earlier today. We'll react and kind of explain what we think it means moving forward for the New England Patriots. My name is Harrison Graham. You are watching Patriots Today by Chat Sports, and this is why you subscribe, because when updates come in, we got you covered, whether it's the latest news, juicy rumors, NFL draft, or free agency coverage. We're your home for everything Patriots related. Help us out. Get to 8,500 subscribers ASAP. Almost at 8,100. All right, Rolly. Eliot Wolf.
The Wolfman?
The Wolfman, the Wolf Hunter. You guys let us know. Nicknames in the comments if you guys have any of them. Looks like he's going to be in charge. He's got a pretty diverse background. He's been in several different front offices, Green Bay, Cleveland, and now here, obviously. He's interviewed for multiple GM gigs in the past. And while it sounds like he's not going to have GM as the title, it kind of feels like he's the team's GM now.
Yeah, and it all started this morning when a college football reporter actually got the scoop, Bruce Feldman, talking about how Miami Hurricanes, the university, GM Alonzo Highsmith, is leaving the University of Miami to join the Patriots front office. And people kind of speculated, well, this feels like another Eliot Wolf type move, as those two have a background together. And the official title for Alonzo Highsmith, by the way, is not specified as of now. Maybe that title comes out relatively soon. But he doesn't have a direct title right now. But him and Wolf have a connection. Eliot Wolf has been bringing in a lot of people that he has had a connection with in the interview process, filling out this offensive staff alongside Jerod Mayo conducting those interviews. And we talked about the other day how it felt like he was kind of the GM working with Jerod Mayo on these coaching hires, while Matt Groh is now out scouting at the Senior Bowl and just kind of making his rounds across the country. So this kind of added fuel to the fire, Harrison. And then Rappaport kind of just put the nail in the coffin, if you will, about 2 hours after that initial report from Feldman saying, worth noting for the Patriots, it appears Eliot Wolf will be in charge of the personnel department with control of the 53-man roster, working closely with Jerod Mayo, sources say. Matt Groh will handle most college scouting, with Pat Stewart heavily involved in all aspects as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think to kind of simplify this for everybody, he's the guy in charge. Now, it's going to be probably a more collaborative effort than what it was under Bill Belichick. I mean, you'd hear all kinds of stories where the scouts and the scouting department would put together their big board, and then Belichick would just go rogue and just draft whoever the hell he wanted. I think this will be more of a traditional setup, even if there aren't traditional titles, if you will. I do think it's the Eliot Wolf show, and he's definitely the most qualified based on who the Patriots currently have on staff. Now, Rap Sheet also added this, saying Bill Belichick ran personnel with final say. This is a change, an expected one, but still a change. With Highsmith coming on, Wolf will lead and collaborate with Stewart, Groh, and Highsmith to work the offseason, including the all-important QB decision. So, again, I think if push came to shove, Wolf's probably been given that final say, Rolly, but this is not going to be Bill Belichick can and will just override any decision without any kind of conversation. It does feel like there will be multiple cooks in the kitchen, if you will, which is good and bad. I think you want to have that clear, top of the food chain, which hopefully Wolf is, but you also want different perspectives on things.
Yeah, and this is kind of a bit of a change as Eliot Wolf transitions into that director of player personnel. That title was previously held by Matt Groh, who has kind of been moved to the director of scouting now, if you will, for New England. So those two just kind of switched roles, which, well, if they're well benefited for the other role, Wolf as the scouting director, well, would be better as the personnel director, and then the same thing goes for Matt Groh. They kind of just switched, and Wolf has became the GM de facto, I guess you could say. And listen, if that's just how they're better well-suited, then I'm not going to go out there and complain about it. I've kind of talked myself into this move, as I always talk myself into every single move the Patriots make. Dumb
That's what
brain.
we do as fans.
Yeah, dumb brain. I talk myself into it all the time. but I've kind of been like in on this a little bit after the news came out because I know a lot of people wanted the Patriots to go outside the organization for GM, myself included, but this is kind of going outside the organization while keeping it inside as well because Wolf, unlike Matt Groh and some others inside the organization, hasn't always been with New England. Wolf came from Green Bay, and then he came over to Foxborough, got up in our organization, grew close with the Crafts, and now is going to try to lead the Patriots as the main man, as the decision maker when it comes to personnel. I'm kind of in on it. He's come from a deep tree in Green Bay. I like it.
Yeah, look, he's qualified. Like I said, he's interviewed for GM jobs in the past. If there was anyone on the staff that was worthy of potentially being the GM, regardless of title, it would be Eliot Wolf. Now, as far as him and Groh kind of switching roles, I'm not actually that concerned about that part of it because you would assume that's been pretty collaborative throughout. I mean, scouts and different members of front offices, they're communicating on a daily, weekly basis like, hey, saw this kid play, this and that. So, like, it's not like they've like missed information when switching roles around, right? Like, I'm sure there's been several sit-downs to kind of dot every I, cross every T. That's certainly going to be a collaborative effort. I would say that switch is going to be more like impactful for like beyond 2024. Like it'll be a more defined role moving forward as the next couple of months are going to continue to be more of that collaborative setup as they try to nail down this number 3 pick decision, which of course is a very, very critical one. Now, do you like Eliot Wolf basically becoming the GM? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I'm cool with it. I wish they would have done at least an outside search, and if they ultimately landed on Wolf, that would have been fine. But clearly, and you're seeing it with coaches, you're seeing it with the Jerod Mayo promotion, they are putting people in position of power that they trust. I mean, that's kind of my biggest takeaway from the past month, Rolly, or however long it's been since they moved on from Belichick. Yes, that they've made that big move to move on from him, but they've also kind of, in a lot of ways, not kept it the same, but like brought in / promoted people that they feel comfortable with at different spots on this football team.
Yeah, I was curious to get your thoughts on Harrison because we didn't really talk about what your overall arching thoughts are. I'm sold on the move as I talked myself into it, as I said a little bit earlier. What I do find this fascinating to be, though, is since they didn't really go outside the organization for GM, they stayed also inside the Foxborough organization for head coach as well with Jerod Mayo. They're kind of putting all the blame on Bill Belichick for the issues over the last 3 or 4
That's
seasons.
one thing I don't love.
I don't know if I agree with it, but it kind of feels like at least the Crafts kind of viewed him as the reason why everything went south.
Yeah, and look, I think you and I have said this. I don't think Belichick, at least from a personnel standpoint, has done a great job, especially offensively. Like, I think moving on from him was the right move, but to promote from within at head coach, which I get it, Jerod Mayo's done head coach interviews. He's a guy that they really, really like, and we found out later they put it in writing that he was basically the coach in waiting, which is why they didn't have to interview. But then they promote within for DC. They're promoting as GM, first-time play caller. They interviewed a lot of candidates who have been connected to the Patriots before. Like, that's all fine and dandy, but it's a little interesting to me to just say the GOAT Bill Belichick has fallen so far that we're going to get rid of him and keep a lot of guys that have been connected to him over the years. That's the only thing I do have pause about. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. Doesn't mean I don't think some of the moves make sense. I do just think that it's interesting. I mean, I agree with you, Rolly, that they're kind of just sitting there and saying, yeah, Belichick just lost his fastball, but we like all the guys around him. Like, that's kind of what it feels like to me. So it's going to be very, very interesting. More to come here on Patriots Today. Prize Picks, big game coming up. Super Bowl Sunday is the place to go for daily fantasy sports. It's DFS made easy. 2 to 6 player entries at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS. Here's an example of an entry. 3 players here. They're giving you a deal for Patrick Mahomes passing yards. Give me the more than. It's just half a yard. Obviously, he's going to hit that. Isaiah Pacheco has been a touchdown machine this year. I think he finds the end zone. And then Christian McCaffrey on the receiving yards. I think he's going to have a big day catching the football because the Chiefs do a really good job defending receivers, but sometimes tight ends, running backs can leak out there. So I like McCaffrey to have a big day. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. And what's cool about PrizePicks for the Super Bowl is a lot of celebrities have partnered up with PrizePicks. You can see their entries, different picks they've made for Super Bowl Sunday, so feel free to chase those as well. All right, in addition to front office news, we do have a little bit of coaching news as well, as Jerod Mayo and company continue to fill out the staff. The Patriots, Rolly, according to Aaron Wilson, are hiring Scott Peters, former Browns assistant O-line coach. He was with Bill Callahan in Cleveland. He was also a player for the Eagles back in the day, fourth-round pick, 7 seasons in the NFL. This I actually really do like because Bill Callahan, Rolly, is kind of known as being like the standard for offensive line coaches in the NFL. So if this is a guy that has a lot of respect and has worked next to Callahan, I think that's a move I really like.
I mean, listen, you just look at what the Browns have been able to do over the last 4 to 5 seasons with their offensive line. It's been one of the best groups in the entire NFL in that time frame. They've had one of the best rushing attacks, and it kind of feels like the Patriots are almost going full Browns offense, at least what it's been over the past couple years, which I don't think is a bad thing because I think they have a dynamic offense, and you can say what you want about Deshaun Watson, but it really does feel like they're getting the most out of whoever is playing quarterback outside of Deshaun. I mean, Baker kind of led them to a postseason win. Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett. Like, it's been a revolving door of not too many elite quarterbacks.
They beat the 49ers with P.J. Walker.
Right. Like, yeah, it's still been some competitive games from that offense. And it's not done there. It is not official, but I did want to note that things are also heading towards the Patriots quarterback coach becoming T.C. McCartney, which is an intriguing name as well. He's a young guy. He's 34 years old. He's worked with new Patriots offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt in Cleveland over the last 4 seasons. He's been a tight ends coach, offensive assistant, and now he is going to become the quarterback's coach if all things finish and go that way. It's not official, but I did want to make note of that. So he also worked with Broncos quarterbacks in 2019. So he's 34, but he's getting a lot of run and experience in the past of working with some really solid coaches. And he seems like someone who can really relate to the guys, but also kind of elevate them as well as we go, because he's, like I mentioned, worked with Van Pelt and the other coaching staff people coming from Cleveland to Foxborough.
And look, that's if it's him or whoever it ends up being, it sounds like it's going to be McCartney. Potentially a very critical hire if you draft a QB at 3. I mean, you got to figure out who the best guy is to develop a potential rookie quarterback. So if it's him and they do go quarterback in the top 5, that is certainly going to be something worth monitoring. You look at the offensive staffers that have come in here, Roy, Alex Van Pelt, you bring in Ben McAdoo, who we talked about yesterday, how he's had a kind of a scout's eye in the past for the quarterback position. You bring him in to help there, perhaps. T.C. McCartney, and then Scott Peters, who we just talked about, as the offensive line coach.
Also, Harrison, I did want to mention the guy that they're bringing in from the University of Miami, Highsmith in the front office, also very well noted to have a good scouting eye as well, as he has brought some talent over to the Miami Hurricanes over the past couple seasons. I'd also keep your eye on as we go closer to the draft process. We'll just take note of this right now and come back to this video if you need to. Miami Hurricane players. I mean, Highsmith is going to have the first knowledge on them, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a handful of Miami players, either UDFAs or late round dart throws in the 6th, 7th round, come to New England because Highsmith has a good knowledge base on them.
I'll throw a name at you just off the top of my head. If they don't re-sign Kyle Duggar, Cameron Kinch's the safety there. He's kind of late first, early second. So that 34th pick, if you lose Duggar, which hopefully you don't, but if you do, he could potentially be in that range if you decide to replace him early on in the draft. So certainly an interesting nugget there, no doubt about it. All right, guys, grade the Patriots coaching and front office moves up to this point in time, A, B, C, D, or F. Obviously, we're just projecting. No one knows for sure how any of this is going to work. It's all it's all a guess until you see some of the fruits turn into labor or just completely go rotten. So ABCDRF, go ahead and let us know. And then you got this as well from Aaron
Busy day.
Wilson. Busy day. Patriots hire Texan staffer Bobby Brown for an executive role. The second stint in the AFC East. So you've got that going on also. Busy day around the New England Patriots. Busy time of year as teams are finalizing their staffs, getting ready for free agency and the draft. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of it here on Patriots Day. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys tomorrow.